In December 2024, I headed out to Guadalupe Mountains National Park to go on a 2-night backpacking trip with my friend Travis T from YouTube. Be sure and go over and check out his channel and his video of this trip. We headed around and camped 2 nights at the Shumard Campsite on the western side of Guadalupe Mountains. After exploring Shumard Canyon and the Williams Ranch House area, which I'd previously been to 9 years before, we head even farther around the western side of the Guads on day 2 to explore a part of the park that I've never seen anywhere on YouTube before, so I hope you enjoy.
Just made it to Pine Springs Visitor Center, headed inside to get our permit. On my way to pick up Travis, a couple minutes out. I'm gonna pick him up, head back to Pine Springs. We're gonna start our hike. All right, we are headed out, about to get on the El Capitan trail, headed out to the Shumard Campsites and down Shumard Canyon. Hadn't been there in 9 years, almost to the day. So I'm pretty excited to get out here. We have a pretty tough hike ahead of us. This trail, the El Capitan trail down below El Capitan, is not easy. Don't look at the map and think, oh well, it doesn't go up in the mountains. This is one of the harder trails out here, and I remember doing it all those years ago and it being in rough shape, and I would almost bet that there hasn't been any trail maintenance done on it since then. This is not a popular trail, so I expect a lot of the trail to be in pretty rough shape, but we'll see when we get out here. It's a beautiful area, and we are going out to what I for sure would pick as the most beautiful sunset area in the entire park, so I'm excited to get out here for that. Pine Spring Visitor Center, right in the center of the shot. We're actually turned and headed toward the highway. Right now you can see the cars going by. We're on our way back around this side to the west side of the Guads. There's El Cap, came around the corner, and we are about to get some awesome views of it later in the hike. So this trail is definitely not flat. We just started getting into some of the folds and small canyons that we're going to be going in and out of. You can see Travis up there. I know that doesn't look like much, and it's not really, but the thing about this trail is it's going to add up over time, and there's a whole bunch of these we got to do on our way out to Shumard Canyon. Wow, what a view. Cool thing about this trail is the farther you hike, the better and better the views of the cliffs get. So I think we're getting pretty good weather for this trip. It's actually going to be hotter than I would like. It's middle of December. I think the highs today are in the mid 60s. It's maybe around 60 right now, or maybe high 50s. Feels hot just being out here in the sun. Breeze is just barely blowing right now, so we're not having to contend with real strong winds or anything. It has been pretty pleasant. Just came over the ridge, treated to a new view. Just keeps getting better and better. So the trail's actually been what I would call pretty easy for out here so far. Hadn't been overgrown at all, but I know once we get past where the Salt Basin Loop is off this trail, it'll get much worse. And it's Guadalupe Canyon down below us, and there is a little trailhead you can park at, not officially part of the park. And then there is a old trail that comes up this canyon and connects into what we're doing if you wanted to cut off some miles of this trip and do just the Salt Basin Loop. But I don't know about leaving your car there overnight. It's a little bit sketchy of a trailhead. You can see Travis up there, and you can kind of see the trail out in front of him. It runs here, and then we're going to end up dropping all the way down to right over there and then start heading back up. This video doesn't do justice to how cool that looks, but we were just talking about how it's almost just as cool or even cooler to be looking up at how majestic the mountains are than to actually be on them. This is the first real shade we've even come across. We're toward the top of Guadalupe Canyon. Some really cool rocks we're noticing in through here. This climb out of Guadalupe Canyon is no joke. It's our first real test of the day. Where our trail is headed is that little saddle right in the center of the shot. What a beautiful place to stop and take a break. Like a perfect seat. Place to get in here, back in the shade and cool off. Here we go, coming up to that saddle. It's definitely gotten a little breezier. And this is where the other end of the Salt Basin Loop connects in. From there on, it's El Cap Trail and probably going to get a little rough. Honestly, the trail all day so far has been awesome. Been great. A lot of brushed up against like 2 bushes all day. According to my Gaia, we're at like 63 something right now. And our high point is like 6450 or 6500. Alright, so I lied. Not breezy at all today. It is slightly breezier right here, but the other 2 times I've been up here, it has been crazy windy. Something about it getting funneled over this saddle. Anyway, we took a real short break, and now we're going to head on the El Cap Trail. So I was telling Travis that table down there, that is the coolest part of the Salt Basin Overlook Trail. If you get a chance to do that one, that is a really cool perspective of the park. See the salt flats out there in the distance. Man, this is amazing. So cool hiking right underneath that. On the other side of El Cap now, and just notice you can see the reflection off the summit marker of Guadalupe Peak. Guadalupe Peak is the one there on the left. It's in the very center of the shot right now. Looks shorter than the one just to its right, but that is the top of Guadalupe Peak. That peak sticking up right there in the middle, that would be like that thumb piece. If you thought of the top of El Cap as a mitten, that would be the thumb. Really excited being over here on this side of the mountains. It has been a long time, and man, there is so much cool stuff already, and we're just now getting over here. We haven't even gotten to see Williams Ranch House or anything like that. This is so cool, and kicking myself for waiting this long to get back out here. First good view of more of the western face. It's Guadalupe Peak right in the center right now. You got Shumard back there. So I'm almost certain that canyon where you can see the dark rocks sticking up, that one right there in the center, I believe that is the top of Shumard Canyon. Look at that rock fall. That's coming right from that thumb of El Cap, and I have a video on my channel from a long time ago where I stuck my face right over the side of that gap right there, and it looks like forever down whenever you're up there. Doesn't look as far down from right here, but that is a cool spot. Pretty wild boulder field we're hiking through right now. This is the first section of trail that's been somewhat difficult to follow, not too bad. Salt Basin Dunes out there in the center of the shot. Well guys, we are at the top of Bone Canyon right now. And it is cool. And we are just now treated with our very first view, the absolute edge of Williams Ranch House. Let me zoom in on it for you. There it is, way down there. That is a long way down. Hopefully we'll be catching sunset down there tonight. Alright, so we're just coming down from the highest elevation point in the trail, the top of Bone Canyon, right back here behind me. And we're making the jump right now over from the top of Bone over towards Shumard. It's looking down part of Shumard Canyon. So I started a little off-trail section. Was going to go over toward Goat Spring. I don't know if I'm going to make it or not, but it's a shot looking back down Shumard Canyon. I'll zoom in, see if we can see Travis. There he is, there in the center of the shot, right by those white rocks. And the first section of this trail's been tough, very thick vegetation. Only fell down a couple times. And get out on this rock shelf. Maybe I'll be able to move a little bit. At the top of a pretty big pour off, Shumard Canyon. Well, I was giving myself an hour one way to do this trail, and I've gone 30 minutes and I'm not even halfway. So pretty much no point in keeping going because I don't want to get way far out there and have to turn around. So I'm going to chill here for a minute, catch my breath. It is cool views. Glad I started over this way. I definitely think it's doable. It was a neat hike, and the first part was pretty tough. See some of the cliffs of the western face back behind me. Anyway, catch my breath, get a drink, and then head back over. That was the pour off I was just standing on top of. So I got to make it across this little rock wall down here at the bottom, and then I'll jump back on the trail on the other side of that ridge. You can see the trail headed down there. It skirts way far around here where you can't see, and then end up dropping down there through the center of the shot. And I saw Travis down there a while back when I was still headed the other direction, so I'm sure he's way down enjoying some shade right now. All right, I'm back on trail. So about 7 miles in for the day on this trail, not counting what I just did, that little bit off trail. And I have about 2 miles to get down to our campsites, and then later we got another quarter to half mile to get to Williams Ranch House, and then back to our campsites after that. So about 4.5 hours in for the day. 50 minutes is what it took me on that little off-trail section and back. Pretty close to 2 miles an hour, which is really good because we've stopped a few times for little short breaks and took our packs off. So we're making really good time on this trail. It's getting to the point where it's almost uncomfortably hot. So I am looking forward to getting down there lower in the canyon to the shade. Finally gonna be hiking in the shade for at least 5 minutes. Well, I hated to have to stop, but definitely had a blister on my heel and I could feel a hot spot on the front of my foot, so I'm gonna stop and take care of that. Not a bad place to have to stop and take a break though. Only a half mile or so from camp. Vegetation is getting thicker as I'm dropping down in the canyon. Shouldn't have too much longer. So look back up Shumard Canyon. The cool rocks and geology. Rocks are definitely different than any other canyon I've been in here in the Guads. Man, look at this trail work. I will say I was completely wrong on this trail. I don't know if it just didn't rain much this monsoon season, and so the trail wasn't super overgrown, but man, it was way better than what I was expecting. Wow, look at that cactus. That is something. I think that might be the biggest one of those cactuses I've seen. There's the Williams Ranch House, except this time we're right down here with it. It's beautiful out here. And the Shumard Campsites are right over here across the wash. Made it to the side trail for the campsites. Just have to cross the wash and they're directly on the other side of this first little ridge. And what a view looking back up Shumard Canyon from down here in the wash, down here at the bottom. Amazing. Look like I caught a passenger down here. Alright, we've made it over to the tent pads. Give you a wide shot of the entire area. There's the cliffs up above you. This is what the entire Shumard campsite area looks like. Very open. You're definitely not going to want to stay here during summer. So this is that first site you come to. This is one I'm going to take for the night. Get my tent set up, hang out for a minute, and then I think we're headed over to the ranch house. It's my campsite for the night. Travis heading up here with his stuff. Got my tent set up. It's a tarp tent double rainbow. And we're going to take our food and head over to the ranch house, which is right here in the center of the shot. And it feels so good to not be carrying all that water. Only carrying 1 liter with me right now for dinner tonight. There's a trail sign out here right next to the Williams Ranch House. So sometimes you can actually drive 4-wheel drive vehicles out here and then hike in from here. Travis is out there checking out the corrals. So I was thinking that part of the foundation fell down. It looks like they tore it down. They're doing work under here, shoring up the flooring. So look inside. Well, this is the Williams Ranch House. Was it worth the trek? Definitely. And I cannot wait to see sunset. The sun lights up all those cliffs back there in the back. It's just an amazing place for sunset. This is one of the more unique stories you see from out here. That second paragraph there. Built this house for his bride, and she stayed 1 day, and then she left. This is Bone Canyon directly behind the house. There's a spring in Bone Canyon where they get their water, and we hiked up there earlier today, traversing right to left in the video. Made our way around over here to Shumard Canyon, and dropped all the way down. And our tents are pretty much, if you take that post right there, draw a line straight up over this first little ridge, that's where we're camped at tonight. Last few seconds of sun. Well, we didn't get a lot of color on the cliffs tonight. That's alright, because we'll try again tomorrow. We'll be out here another night. Still a beautiful, peaceful evening. Heading back to our tents. I think we're going to eat over there. I'm pretty worn out from the day. Wish we could have got a little more color for sunset, but looking all out here across the sky is beautiful. It's quiet except for the jets every once in a while. It is very still. There's really no wind at all. Just think I'm gonna have a good night's sleep tonight. It's definitely cooling off quick. I swapped into this little bit thicker fleece shirt. I feel a little bit chilly. looked up just a second ago, and we can see headlights coming up Williams Ranch Road. Travis walking down to his tent. You can see Del City back there in the background. Had to climb in my tent. We just had dinner, and we're settling down for a little over 12 hours of darkness. Good morning, everybody. It's about 7:30, first light, and I don't think the sun has come up, but it comes up more toward the other side of the mountains. And we're headed over toward the ranch house, about to start our hike for the day. And today we are hiking out a little farther into the desert toward the Salt Flats, and we are going to do part of the Butterfield stage route and part of the old Kincaid Trail. Definitely didn't get as cold as what the forecast for Del City was. And Del City is not too far from here, a little farther down in the valley, so could possibly be colder there, but forecast was for 32 degrees, and there's no way it's below 40. Stayed pretty warm all night. It was almost completely still. Very little breeze at all last night. A couple little gusts that shook the tent, but that is about as good as you can ask for out here. We got up, started walking at first light this morning. We were trying to get most of our hiking in the morning, and hopefully be back over here a little after lunch. I got my jacket on. I'm not sure why. I'm going to pull it off definitely before we start walking out of here. And I never put on any sort of gloves or toboggan or anything last night. Like I said, very warm. Travis is up there stretching right now. And I did a little stretching in the tent before we headed out. I think it's going to be a good morning. First interesting thing we've come across. Check out those back wheels off this old truck. Wooden spoke. So what we're walking now is just an old ranch road, and we're actually probably not today going to actually physically link up with the Butterfield Mail Route. It is a little farther out here, this side of the Patterson Hills, but it's coming across the valley, and right out here in the middle between these two sets of hills, we're walking down past that. And the Butterfield stage route goes out past that, but we're not going to quite link up with it. And then once we turn off this road onto another old ranch road, then right after that we should link up with the old Kincaid Trail. Now the Kincaid Trail, from what I understand, is old trail. I don't know if it was just used by Noel Kincaid, but definitely named after him. And he was the foreman of the ranch out here. And the Kincaid Trail was not officially adopted whenever they made this into a national park, but you can still find it on old maps. And it traverses the western side of the Guadalupe Mountains, where there's absolutely no trails. And this side of the park is not used at all by the park or any of its visitors that I've ever seen. So hopefully in today's video y'all will be getting some cool shots and see Guadalupe Mountains and West Texas from a perspective that you've never seen before. So looking back where we came from, you can see the ranch house there on the right. That's Bone Canyon that follows right up behind it, and it runs right in between Guadalupe Peak and El Cap during that low saddle. And then way over here on the far left side, that is Shumard Canyon, and that is where we came down and where we camped last night. And that's Shumard Peak sticking up right there on the left side. I actually don't think the actual summit is in the shot, but that's the low saddle between Guadalupe and Shumard. A lot of jet streams, a lot of planes flying over the Guadalupe Mountains. It's a pretty big wash coming out of Shumard Canyon. And I was thinking maybe this is where Bone Canyon and Shumard combine, but Bone Canyon drains the other direction, so this would be a lot of flow just out of Shumard. Get a big rain, I'm sure there's a ton of water coming down through there. So we've been noticing quite a bit of cow poop out here on this road, and I know you can lease BLM land and maybe even forest land, but I don't think you can lease national park land for cattle grazing. Could be wrong. Some of you may know a little more than me. If so, definitely leave it in the comments down there, but I'm wondering if this is cows have got off of somebody's ranch over here. We haven't actually seen any cows, but there's been quite a bit of cow poop. See, Bartlett just came into view back there in the back center of the shot, right where the sun's hitting on the summit in the center. First time we've seen Bartlett so far. Ow, stepped on a cactus. That's what just went through the bottom of my shoe. Everything out here is trying to stick you. Sun is just about to break the foothills over there. It's been really nice walking in the shade. Old water tank. We are definitely out in the sun. Still cool. Gonna have to pull off my thermal shirt here pretty quick. And we just split off our original road, and now we are headed straight at the gypsum sand dunes. That knob, the very farthest left thing up there, it's bush, just came into view. So it doesn't look the highest here, but it's because it's farther back. So we're to a junction, a four-way junction right here, and you really can't tell because the road's not really well defined, but see that water tank up there? You're pretty much right at the junction. And now we're gonna hop over on another road, start heading back toward the mountains some. There's been all sorts of pipe out here along these roads. This is the biggest one I've seen. Be a lot better if that was full of water. All right, we finally got back on a road. We were following our GPS track from what we had made from satellite imagery, but there really wasn't much of a defined road pretty much between that tank and back right here where we got on. Pretty much anytime we've gone across a wash, the road gets super thin or pretty much disappears with all the vegetation, and then we've gotten back on it pretty quick every time after that, but it took us a little bit this time. Came across an old fence. It's probably not that old. See it going up the ridge right there. Just checked the map, looks like we're about a mile. We're gonna take a break up near Pure Well. We are finding metal cans and pipes and couplings, beer bottles, all over the place. Little small corral right there. Another old water tank up here. Let's see if we got any water. Nope, no water, just trash. Pretty good washout in the road. This is about as well defined as the road has been in a while. Really hasn't been much to follow other than steel cables and the water pipes. Coming right up to Pure Well. You can see where they cut the rock out or blasted it out. Oh, cool, an old tractor up here. That's neat. There's the top of that pipe we've been following the whole way up here. Guess if this tank filled up, then it could drain down to the rest of them. And even looking up the canyon from here, that is amazing.
If you'd like some of the history of some of this old stuff or the Pure Well site, definitely go back and check out Travis's video, as I mentioned before, over on his channel, and I have a link for it down in the description of this video. I can just appreciate this stuff for being old and really neat, and having walked up here, it is amazing that they were able to move this equipment up there, and as well as stay here year-round working in this canyon. And man, it would be a hard place to live, but some really cool stuff up here around this site. But go check out Travis's video for a history of the area.
So that is Bartlett Peak right up there. I was just up there a few weeks ago. Well, it's about 10:50. I think we got up here about 10:15 and had a really good break. This was a little bit tougher hike than what I was expecting. We did go down almost 1,000 feet and back up almost 1,000 feet. And it's been awesome over here in the shade, but as soon as we break out right there, there will be no more shade the whole rest of the hike. And I'll be looking forward to getting back to the porch there at the Williams Ranch House. Got our hoods up for sun safety. Travis was pointing out that right in here somewhere is where the Kincaid Trail splits off. It goes back toward that saddle back there, and then along the foothills or the folds of the mountain of the western side of the Guads, all the way back toward the PX Flat, Cox Tank, and the campsite over there, Marcus Campsites. So that canyon right there in the center, that's Shirt Tail Canyon, and it comes down and goes out to the right, but Goat Spring, where I was trying to walk to yesterday, it's right in there in those shadows. You can see Williams Ranch House in the distance. We're about 1.25 miles, and then about 500 vertical feet below it. We're getting close to the ranch house, and I'm almost certain I saw a person up there walking around, so I would assume it's got to be the guys that we saw on the side-by-sides last night after dark. I guess we'll see when we get up here. Well, it is 1 o'clock. That took us 4.5 hours pretty much, and that's with about a half hour or maybe even slightly longer break at the well. And now we are back here in the shade, and it is amazing. It's starting to get pretty hot out there. So there were a couple guys, I saw their side by side. They were walking up Bone Canyon. I don't know if they're just exploring or what they're doing. Man, you walk all this way to get way out here, and two side-by-sides pull up. I think one set of guys was guys actually working, and I don't know if they're the ones that did the porch. They were exploring up Bone Canyon when we came up. And I think there's also people working on the road out here. And then the second side-by-side that came up a little later, that was park employees, and they were looking for those guys. So nobody really was overly talkative. But a lot of work going on out here, or some work and a little bit of hanging out anyway. The more I'm hanging out around the house, I started wondering, why did they tear this wall down to put those 4 boards up when right here is an access door 10 foot away. There's a ladder in there, I guess if someone's dumb enough to climb over in there and got stuck. Left a ladder up here. That's a pretty cool view of the ranch house looking back out the other direction. Hiking up Bone Canyon. This has been a pretty fun hike. Boulder hopping and rock scrambling. Definitely worth the little side trip if you got extra time out here. Shumard Canyon. Bone Canyon is pretty fun. This was a pretty fun hike. We just walked up the canyon a little ways and then stopped and talked for a while. Looked up at Guadalupe Peak. So you go quite a bit farther than what we did. You can make it up to the spring. We did find a little Tanaha, a lot of low depressions you can tell hold water at some points. It's pretty dry out here. Well, we just been spending much of the afternoon hanging around, which has been really nice. Have an afternoon snack. I brought some Maker's Mark and have a Snickers to go with it. I did not bring a stove on this trip, but we were hanging out talking about afternoon coffee, and Travis is kind enough. He wanted coffee and he's going to donate me a cup. I know I've showed this 100 times in this video already, but it's so cool. The sun is getting low out there. I've had a great afternoon and evening. Finished off my Maker's Mark. And it has been awesome just sitting on the porch of the Williams Ranch House, hoping we get some pink cliffs tonight. The cliffs are just starting to light up. What a beautiful sunset. It's probably going to be a while before I'm back again, so I'm just trying to soak it in. Been 9 years since I've been to Williams Ranch House, and this sunset tonight and just hanging out on the porch and being in this area hanging out, it just, man, this is such a special place. One of the best places you can possibly be in Guadalupe Mountains National Park. We are headed back over to our campsites. Back to the tent. This is the view from my campsite. Tonight for dinner, we're having everything bagel seasoned Alaskan pink salmon and crackers and a string cheese. Well guys, had a good second day. This is the end of the day. Much windier this evening and supposed to pick up overnight. Just laying in the tent, finished my dinner and starting to watch a movie. Doesn't really feel too cold, just wind picking up a little bit. We're gonna head out around first light in the morning. We will see you in the morning. Good morning, everybody. Got up early and got moving this morning. I think we headed out about 6:50 Central Time. First light is about 7:20. You can see sun just barely illuminating the sky back there. Sunrise a little while later. Take one last look around the ranch house and then head out. Until next time, I'm not sure when it'll be. Love coming out here. Gonna be a beautiful sunrise this morning. Been walking part of the Butterfield stage route. It probably was windy last night. As soon as we've started rounding the mountains on this other side, we got hit with a north wind, and it's blowing pretty good. Not terrible, but it was absolutely calm over by Shumard. So this is definitely the side of the Guads you usually see. Well, we made it out of the national park, and we got about a mile and a quarter, something like that, to make it back to our car.
With permission, we had parked our car on private property a little ways away from the park, so the end of our trip is walking these dirt roads to get back to our car. Overall, we had a great trip, hiked about 30 miles over the course of the couple days, and explored a new part of the park, and it was just an amazing trip. Couldn't ask for a better hiking partner. So once again, go check out Travis's video of this trip, and really appreciate you guys watching. Thanks for following along.